Those YouTube videos make building a shed look so easy. It's not. I'll show you the mistakes I made as I did my best to make all of them. Hola! I'm Mike, and what did I do now? Built the frame for my shed. Just the frame this time, no sheathing nor roof. I need you to come back for that. Let's talk about framing mistakes, so you don't have to make them. Framing is the most fun part of a shed build because it goes up fast, and in that time you pretty much go from nothing to it really looking like something. I'm basing my shed off of the design I created in SketchUp. I'll hide the roof, trim, and panels since that's a future task. What? What the heck is that? You didn't see that. This video isn't about that base, but there are some critical things to point out. The base must be level. If not, there's no proper way to fix it and you'll be compounding mistakes. I knew mine was level because I could tell when I was dancing. I'm getting a lot of mileage out of that. If the base is level and square, you don't need to fight the walls with a framing square later. In fact, I bought one and never used it. Squareness of the base should be checked with 2 diagonal measurements. This should also be done for the walls as a sanity check. You can make mistakes before you even start. Pick your own 2x4s. Don't buy a blind bulk buy pallet. This is the benefit of not getting a kit, choosing quality boards without severe knops or warpage. Also, make use of the discount. My Home Depot knocked off 34 cents when you buy 50 or more. Store them properly, laying flat in the shade. Pressure treated 2x6s come soaking wet, and as they dry, they warp, cup, and twist. Ask me how I know. Even better, don't buy them until the day you start using them. A cut table was constructed for the shed project. It's a 2x8 foot piece of OSB supported by 2x4s set on sawhorses with adjustable legs so I could keep it level-ish on uneven ground. When not cutting, this doubled as a workbench. The first thing I cut was the bottom and double top plates, 6 8-footers and 6 measuring 7 foot 5 inches. The top and bottom plates I cut were pretty accurate, but I got lucky. It's critical that the perimeter of the frame be exactly the same size as the perimeter of your base. If the frame is smaller, even by 1/4 inch, this can cause an unsightly warp to the exterior panels. If larger, a tiny accidental overhang won't hurt anything, but framing works best when every plate is fully supported. Aim for flush so the load goes through the wood, not fasteners. I should have laid the bottom plates on the base and ensured sizes before continuing. Next, I cut 27 6-foot 7.5 inch studs. To do this, I created a fixture on my cut table. This stack here isn't pretty, but it's a solid stop so that all the boards are cut to exactly the same size. This one is a support to keep them square to the saw blade. This next mistake I didn't make here, but I made it twice at other points in the project. If you need to cut 3 inches off of an 8-foot board, it's important that you measure the 7 foot 9 inch part. Don't measure 3 inches from the cut end. Most boards are accurate enough, but it's good practice. I had trim boards that were 16-footers cut in half, but they weren't cut exactly in half, and I measured from the wrong end. This fixture makes quick work of the 27 studs, and I moved the boards to the shed with my little red wagon. You might wonder why I didn't cut these by the shed. A little is fine, but you don't want the ground to look like an industrial sawmill. Sawdust can starve your grass and physically smother it. Before nailing your walls together, you need to mark where they go. Mark the top and bottom plate at the same time. Clamp them together. This cuts the work in half, and the top and bottom will be perfectly aligned. Start by marking the center lines, then the outsides of each stud so it'll be easy to place them. Measure twice, cut once. Measure 3 times, nail once. I literally got the measurements wrong twice. This was mostly due to me doing my own design, but it's a good warning. Mark everything clearly, cross out mistakes, and use a marker if necessary. Don't expect future you to remember what past you was thinking while future you is wielding a nail gun. Assembly can finally begin. The back wall was the simplest, so I started with it in order to establish a system or rhythm. I'm using interior nails because I had a lot left over from my attic build out. These nails will be inside the shed, so it should be okay, but it's not ideal. Hot dip galvanized nails and exterior deck screws would be better. It's highly recommended to not attempt a shed build manually with a hammer, unless your nickname is the human nail gun. A drill driver and screws will work, but 4-inch deck screws are $1/4 a piece while a nail is 4 cents. The back wall went together without issue. The side wall was next. It had almost no issues. At the very end, the bottom plate was warped and nails don't really draw pieces together. I drilled a hole in the plate and a 4-inch construction screw straightened it out. A 3-inch screw sounds long enough, but not an end grain. The window walls started going together well, but this board had a twist to it. I used my monkey wrench to twist it back in shape and hold it while I nailed it. I did the header for the window next. My header looks weird, I know. You might expect a window header to look like this, maybe with a sideways 2x6. But I have short walls and it turned out the gap was exactly 2 2x4s, so instead of doing anything fancy, this is what I did. Be sure to dry fit the window at this point. I have a 1/2 inch of play, so it was correct. What was not correct was my jack studs. I thought jack studs could go down from the header to the sill and then another to the bottom plate, and then king studs outside of those. Not correct. I technically did Cripple studs. Structurally it's fine for a 1-story shed, but it's not textbook. The correct way to do it would have been like this. The jack studs going from the header to the plate, king studs outside of that, and Cripple studs holding up the sill. I made use of my scraps and pieced together the Cripple studs under the sill. You could say my Cripple studs are crippled. The front wall with the door and the window are next. Another thing I didn't do was not crown all of the studs. I turned the studs one way or another based on the good-looking side pointing to the inside where it would have been seen. The right way is whichever way it is bowed or crowned should point the same as all the others. But I got pretty lucky on that. These studs were all pretty straight. The trick to standing a wall up by yourself is to mount a board to the wall with 1 screw in it so it pivots and drags on the ground as you lift the wall. What I did the hard way is then try and screw it in while holding the wall plumb. The correct way is to screw this side in as close as possible, then do the other side using a clamp on the wall so minor adjustments can be made to get the wall plumb. Screw it in. Then if the wall is large enough, redo the first side. I positioned the front wall and nailed it to the base, which was wrong. I'll explain that later when it bites me. The window wall was lifted into place and clamped to the front wall. I tried to nail the corners together, but this was another mistake. I'll explain that one later too. The side wall was carefully positioned, nailed into the bottom, and then screwed into the front wall corner. It was getting late, so the back wall was just clamped into position. To fasten this corner, I had to countersink holes through the wide end of the 2x4. This is a single stud butt corner, which is the mistake I mentioned a minute ago because there's no room for a nail gun or even a drill driver. A better design is to turn the end stud 90 degrees so the next wall has something flat to nail to. This is a California corner, but now the front panel does not have a corner to nail to. A third board would be added to solve that, and given what is probably the best name ever given to an architectural design, a 3-stud corner. Next, the walls are squared up. They are temporarily held square with a diagonal board, but I did it the hard way, trying to screw in that second screw while holding the wall in position. I called this pose America's Next Top Model.
Do you feel the intensity?
The smart button was finally pushed, and I clamped the board, which allowed me to use a hammer to shift the wall one way or the other until it was plumb, then screwed into place. Double check that everything is square and plumb. Because of a warped bottom plate, the sidewall was bowed out 3/4 of an inch. There were only 2 nails in the plate, 1 on each end. A piece of scrap wood was screwed to the floor, which allowed me to use a clamp to draw the plate straight.
Now it's a date, leave it to fate. Don't hate a straight platescape, mate. What?
My final mistake callback is here. The window wall was bowed out at the end, but I nailed it down anyway for some reason, so I had to pry the plate up and cut the nails off with a reciprocating saw so that I could straighten out the plate. This highlights a big mistake that I made that bit me. I was too excited to nail the walls down. They should have been held in place with 2 screws on the bottom at the ends and just clamps on the corners until everything was lined up properly. Wow, I sure made a lot of mistakes here, didn't I? Well, I don't want you to make a mistake by not liking this video. There are a lot of tools involved in making this shed. This channel is funded through my Amazon affiliation, which is equivalent to making a living running a pink lemonade stand. But when you buy stuff from my list, Amazon showers me in nickels. They used to shower me in pennies, but they don't make those anymore. I'm saving up to buy this book on advanced comedy so I can really up my game. I need 86 more nickels. Go to the description and click those links. The double top plate was nailed into place. When utilizing a double top plate, ensure the long boards are staggered over the short boards. This gives it more strength. A double top plate is optional on a small shed. The wall studs were shortened by 1.5 inches to allow for it. And the wall framing is complete. If your shed walls aren't straight and square, nothing else you build will matter, because this is the part that quietly ruins sheds when it's done wrong. The final advice? Don't stop, keep working. The shed is currently very vulnerable to the elements. If it rains, you need to wait for it to completely dry before you continue. Hopefully you have a set of plans. If you're doing this without any plans, by the seat of your pants, you're a better man than me, and definitely you are not watching this video. I actually didn't use any plans. I guess that makes me a better man than me. I designed the shed myself using SketchUp, a 3D architectural web application. Leave a comment if you want me to do a tutorial of SketchUp. Oh, I've got a fan online. Hey fan, did you like the video?
You screwed up quite a bit. You know, learning from other people's mistakes, yeah. You just made me a freaking genius.
Thanks, fan. Subscribe to this channel. My goal is 500 subscribers in 2 months. Then I get that sweet YouTube ad money. Those are dimes. You, as a fan, will be rewarded with a new video every other Wednesday at noon Eastern. Roof trusses are next. I'll show how to make all those complicated angles easy. And watch this video on shed kits. It's very popular among the 10 people YouTube showed it to. You like this picture of my shed? I framed it. Oh, come on. I totally avoided jokes about me being a stud. A king stud.
The saw does not have an eraser. Framing squares, levels. Oh my.